Hi everyone, welcome back. Let's write some more Leetcode today. Today we are solving partition equals subset sum. So the problem states that we are given an integer array nums and we want to return true if we can partition the array into two subsets such that the sum of the elements in both subsets is equal or false otherwise. So if we look at this example, we can partition the array into 1, 5, and 5, and 11, and they will both be equal to 11, so we can return true. If we look at this example, it cannot be partitioned, so we return false. So now that we have seen some examples, let's get to how we can solve this problem. So one way that we can solve this problem is we can first calculate the sum of the input array and then we will divide it by 2. If it cannot be divided by 2 evenly, then we can return false because that means the sum is odd, meaning that we will not be able to partition the array into two equal sums. However, if we can divide the sum by 2 and the quotient does not have any remainder, then we can continue the problem. And what we can do is initialize a DP set with 0 in it, and then we will iterate through each element. And at each element, we will add the current element to every element inside the DP set. And if we can add a number that does equal our target, which is 11 for this example, then we can return true. And if we cannot find one by the end of all iterations, then we can return false. So let's go over this example real quick. So first we start at 1. We will add 1 to 0. And now we can move to the next element since we have added everything. Now we are at 5. We can add 5 to 0 and 5 to 1. So we will add 5 to 0, and then we'll add 5 to 1, which is equal to 6. And then we can move to the next element. So first we can add 5 to 0, but it's already in the set. And we can add 5 to 1, but it's already in the set as well, which is 6. So now we can add 5 to 5, which is 10. So we'll add 10 to the set. And now we can add 5 to 6, but that equals 11, which means that we can partition the array into two subsets of equal sum. So we can return true. So the time complexity would be O of n times m, where n is the length of the input array and m is the length of the DP, because we will need to iterate through each element, and at each element we will have to iterate through the DP by adding towards the elements. And the space complexity would be O of m because the DP will take up to m space. So now let's get to the coding part. So first we need to divide the sum of nums by 2, and if there is a remainder then we return false. Otherwise, we would set the target that we want to reach is the sum of nums floor division by 2. And we'll set DP to set. And then we will add 0. For I in range length of nums, we will set a temporal DP to call it next DP set. And we will iterate through DP. So if we can add nums of I to any element in DP, and make it equal to target, then we can immediately return true. And next DP would be add t, and then we will also add nums of I plus t. And then DP will be equal to next DP for the future iteration, and then we can return false if we did not find anything that equals target. See if it works. Okay, perfect. Thank you for watching. Hope this was helpful. If you have any other questions or comments, feel free to leave it down in the comment section, and I hope to see you all again soon.